Welcome to TBI Analytics Podcast. We have Przemek Lubecki
That's right.
From Louisiana with us today. We took some time out of TLU University to be here, and thank you for being here. Actually, we just met just now, so
30
how cool
seconds
is
ago,
that?
literally.
30 seconds ago. He has no idea what we're even going to be talking about other than just the clue we gave him is TBI. And in just a few minutes of getting to know you, we're establishing already that we're going to have some good stuff to talk about. But this is super genuine, totally off the cusp right now. And we are going to focus this discussion on traumatic brain injury cases and how you go about them. Mm-hmm. And then, what are the, maybe the roadblocks that you come up with, or what is the things that are holding you back from pushing more traumatic brain injury cases or what have you. It's kind of like just this open conversation around traumatic brain injury. Mm-hmm. And how do you feel about getting traumatic brain injury cases? And let's do this. What's your experience in utilizing and doing traumatic brain injury?
Yeah, so, the idea of a TBI case is obviously extremely appealing to me, right? It's a real injury. Mm-hmm. With some long-lasting sequelae for the clients. But in my experience, I've gotten burned on a couple of them for various reasons. One being that I think it's difficult to find experts that will support it. And then the flip side of that is that oftentimes attorneys, and let's say I inherit a case from somebody that's given to me for trial.
Sure.
Their choice of experts, and let's say their decision to go down the route of neuropsych, sort of commits me to presenting the case in a specific manner where I would prefer, knowing what I know now, mm-hmm. to present the case with just a neuroradiologist mm-hmm. and then a layperson damages mm-hmm. witnesses from the person's life, from the milieu of whatever it is that they do, their dry cleaner, their clerk at the grocery store, whatever it is, the family members too, coworkers.
Sure. But your lay witness is huge.
Yeah, to color in kind of that picture of actually how it's affecting the client's life, and then just have the neuroradiologist represent for the jury as to what areas of the brain were affected. Yeah. And then, but the weight of the case being the layperson, as opposed to a neuropsych.
And depending on that expert witness's testimony. Correct. Because then it just becomes an expert versus expert, and you're not really taking into consideration, wait, we really are talking about somebody as a human being here. Right. And it really does become an expert battle. I absolutely believe and understand that. And in my experience, I have seen other cases go sideways just because of that mm-hmm. can of worms of that neuropsych opening it up, but not really understanding in a traumatic brain injury from a personal injury experience, causation. Mm-hmm. It's hard for neuropsychologists to put a forensic, if you will, report together. And so that's where you run into the hiccups of having neuropsych involved, because yes, you're going to possibly open up a worm that you don't want. Right. And it's going to lead you down the wrong road. If you just would have left it alone, it probably would have been better. So I get that. And so absolutely can resonate. I would say in the experience with me working on, in the last 7 years now, in multiple spaces, I've probably worked on more than 500 cases.
Oh, wow.
And so I have a true blue picture of what these cases do, utilize and work. And so most of them have that neuropsych involvement in it, but it's because they're utilizing the right experts to do it. They're actually using forensic neuropsychologists, and there is a difference, right? These people understand the causation element to a personal injury and how we have to relate it to what imaging we have and mm-hmm. correlate those findings. My thing is, after working on these cases and knowing what works, it's one thing to show imaging in a DTI, diffusion tensor imaging, where what that's doing is it's measuring our fiber tracts. It's measuring that part of the brain where the neurons are firing and wiring. Now, when those axonal shearing happens, we can actually pick that up in an image like diffusion tensor imaging. And so with the imaging that we have a license and protocol access to, that we are calibrating across this country, this is quantitative, science-backed. It's based on a normative database, and we are doing the full protocol, the whole differential diagnosis, and that's doing your volumetric sequence, SWI, susceptible weighted imaging, to see those white lesions in the brain that could be from microbleeds. And then we have the diffusion tensor imaging and your standard brain MRI to completely give you the full spectrum so that no defense can come back and say, well, it could be from, Alzheimer's or disease related.
And so, yeah, let's keep talking, because that's sort of the other issue that I've had is, they'll be, let's say somebody's 60 years old or even 55 years old, whatever, and they're going to have ischemic changes in the brain. And maybe if they're a little bit older, they're more pronounced.
And microbleeds can come from calcifications in the brain.
Okay.
And so that could happen. And so what's going to differentiate it from being from a traumatic brain injury versus trauma versus, old age or calcification? So with this advanced imaging that not many know about, because it has been in research and now it has worked its way into clinical. And now that we're here in clinical, we're able to see actually that actual house on the map of the brain of where it's actually injured. And so when you have that kind of focused technology, now it just comes down to AI, and you no longer have to worry about that expert knowing what articles to reference and whether or not it's an expert battle or not. It's just now just AI is telling us this person is brain injured, and we have the backings to back it. Now, it's one thing to see in an image that this person is brain injured, but how is that injury affecting them every day?
Right.
I don't know any other expert out there that could do a better job than a forensic neuropsychologist, simply because they're the only ones that can peel the onion layers back of before the incident and after, because nobody else, like a neurologist, they're not going to know clinically how they're doing. They're just going to have ordered tests, evaluations, and that kind of thing. It's the neuropsych that puts all the pieces of the puzzle together, because once they see that diffusion tensor imaging that's showing 33 bundle tracks of the brain, and if any of those are off, that's showing brain injury, and it's axonal shearing. You can't get axonal shearing from really anything else other than trauma.
Right.
And so it's one thing when you have just one sequence showing something and maybe the other sequence isn't showing much, but at least you have the full differential, and then you can cross-examine it with that. And then with the clinical correlation of a neuropsych, they're going, yep, this bundle track is off, and this operates this motor skill, or this operates memory.
Right, that correlation, huge. I agree with you.
Right?
And like what sort of stuck out to me from what you just said is that, you've done 500 or however many of these, and it's that experiential sort of aspect of it, and dealing with a lawyer and dealing with the expert
Patient.
on it, and how that
And
sort of interrelates.
Yep.
Because that's where, that's where the proof happens, or where the problems oftentimes arise. So just having that experience, I'm assuming you're probably helping the lawyers quite a bit with what you're doing.
Yes. And you guys are so focused on what you have to do, right? And the legal and the laws and understanding all of that. The beauty of what I bring to the table is that experience working hand in hand with the lawyers, coming from that visual media perspective. That's what we were trying to do is, well, when you have a mild brain injury, how do you show that when you don't have objective imaging to show, right? To enhance the visuals aspect. So I could see the pain these attorneys were having when they have this mild traumatic brain injured client and they can't do anything for them. It's hard for them to support this diagnosis when you don't have the standard imaging out there that's doing the job. So these people go down a normal path when they know they're not, and then they're not getting the right treatment because they're not getting the right imaging to show that they are injured, and then not the right experts to correlate it. So it really starts with identifying objectively in an image, right? So,
well, so I think even before that, though, educating the lawyers.
yes.
Because again, I've told you my experience a little bit as far as the sort of pitfalls that I've had on some of those cases, which even though sort of in the abstract, I like the idea of a TBI case. I know that it's a real injury.
Right.
I used to fight, and so I used to get hit in the head. So it's something that sort of I think about sometimes, right? But it is, our own sort of implicit biases.
Yes.
Both about brain injury and about having had these issues on these cases where we have committed to representing the client, doing a good job, and then something comes up like ischemic changes or the neuropsych takes a dump because he's not of the ilk to actually understand it enough forensically for testimony.
Right.
He sort of doesn't know that the defendants are running a game on him.
Exactly.
You know?
They have no clue. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think educating the lawyer more so is important, because also we have a hard time sometimes with some of the TBI clients because they can be difficult clients.
Absolutely. They are the most difficult. They don't understand their own injury. They don't get it. They're learning to do things all over again sometimes. I mean, that's got to be one of the most frustrating things to go through.
Right.
So that's where my passion came in and compassion came in, and it's like we have answers there. And so when I discovered diffusion tensor imaging and volumetrics and all the different sequences you do need to utilize in order to measure that part, I just knew I had something. We have to go show the world and help these people get the right treatment. So I went after other experts, neuroradiologists that understood this level of imaging, asked them, what are you using to identify traumatic brain injury? Is there software out there that you know of? And that's where I discovered this advanced protocol that this neuroradiologist is using and other people are in a clinical aspect. And it comes with it all. And so it's incredible. And I'm excited because we're able to get this out there in more than just one location. We're getting it all over the country. Yeah. So it's really exciting.
So you have sort of local experts, or you have, let's say, a pool of experts that you guys work with that understand the science?
Yes, it's a pool of experts.
Okay, yeah.
So both in the imaging side of it as well as the neuropsych part of it.
Okay.
We just know by being in this space for a while, it's just a matter of just guiding you to them, and you decide if you want to use them or not, right? But I know who works and who does well, and so there are neuropsych companies that have a telehealth program even, and they'll do the whole evaluation with the patient that lives in a suburb that doesn't have access to medical offices, right? So it's really important that they actually start getting that cognitive development again, and even just their behavior in their own home. What better way to get these people treated than just to be able to do that from their home? So there are forensic neuropsychologists out there that can help in any state that most people are in. So
very cool. And then, I think from my perspective as the trial lawyer, my concern is always what is plausible, what is believable, what's the jury going to believe, and is the expert going to potentially, like on some of the cases I've had, going to become a poison pill? And it sounds like you guys have sort of shored that up, where you guys are advancing
these cases don't even make it to the court steps because their reports are so good that defense doesn't know how to go after it. You've got the imaging and you've got the neuropsych telling the story of this client.
That's awesome.
The before and after. And in fact, if there is any mental issues going on before the incident, it's actually more like an eggshell case now. And it actually only exacerbates that. They were already having issues, and now we've got a TBI on top of that that's only going to get them worse, right? Yeah. So the neuropsych can actually elaborate on that and be able to expose that we actually want to tell the story of what this person's going through. We want to elaborate that this person is going to probably need even more, mental help because of it. So don't be afraid to tell the client's story, because it's actually, it's what we all want to know. A jury wants to know how is it affecting them,
right?
So I really go with, that we're human and everybody's going to have that heartstring for that side of it, so I like to be able to, give them both. So if you've got the experts on both sides, where you have the neuropsych and the neuroradiologist, it's a 1-2 punch I'm seeing, that people are just using that in a demand, settling these cases, or using it to pop a policy because they don't
Yeah.
think they really have anything. And
Yeah.
we
I mean,
do.
again, an expert, I think, that understands both what the client's going through, obviously, but more so than that, like, can actually deliver in a deposition or in court.
Yes, that's huge.
That's huge, because a lot of times some of these, a lot of times the neuropsychs are, it's been in my understanding that a lot of them that I've used have been defense guys, right?
Right.
And so they're just stuck in
They
that
come
mold,
after
and
you
they
in a different way.
completely different. And they also, even if they're trying to help, they just still have these
No,
sort
they
of
go for those loopholes.
exactly right.
They try every angle because they are
Yeah.
that side,
Right.
right? So they're not going to care.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate, but they say they do, but that's not what their job
That's
is.
the reality of
Yeah,
the
so
business.
that's where I know the fear is out there, and it's a valid fear, because you see these defense experts talking neuropsych, and it's they're leading you down that road to make you that fear happen. And when I know that there are experts out there that will shoot those ones down and make your client look amazing, right? In
Well,
front of
the
that
next
jury.
case,
So.
next TBI case I have, I'm gonna call you. All right.
Well, thank you.
And you're gonna sit down with me patiently,
Yes,
all right? And you can
absolutely.
explain to me
Would love to.
all the issues that sort of I may have gotten soured on, and how you guys can help.
Can
Because
help.
I think that's
Yeah.
very promising. It's obviously, I'm here
Yeah.
because I'm like listening to Sagi Shaked
Sure. He's great.
do millions of dollars in verdicts and settlements
He knows what he's doing.
on TBI cases.
Yeah.
And so he has figured it out. You guys seem to have obviously also figured it out.
Yes.
And so I'm definitely keeping an open mind.
Okay, good job. And that's what's also, I commend you. I mean, attorneys that, either are doing well but they're always learning, and it's good to see you here, and taking advantage of such amazing other peers that are
great.
doing awesome stuff out there. So good job. It's such a pleasure to meet you.
Awesome
And
meeting you.
yeah, thank you.
Glad we made the connect.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It was really good. Thank you.
Awesome.
All right.